Coon, and he had a personal assistant from my block named Laura. And he had brought like 3 people to the club. He had brought like 6 people to the club with him, and he was only supposed to get 3 people in. I was running the door at Daddy-O's from Industries Entertainment. They just told me Jay-Z only get 3 people in. You understand? So I'm at the door. I said, yo, Jay, you good, and 3 of your other good, but the other 3 gotta pay. So then he said, Laura, handle him. And at that time, the type of dude I was, you couldn't tell no woman to handle me. You understand? When I'm talking to you as a man. So then I said, who you talking to like that? You telling her to handle me? You understand? And then me and him, you know, he didn't say nothing. He just turned to the side. And if he'd have turned back around, he'd have got his head knocked off. But Laura told me, yo, Gene, please, Gene, you gonna make me lose my job.
My daughters, not that I know of, I've scrubbed all their socials. They do not have boyfriends. But they did ask me this weekend, could 2 boys come over? The twins. And I told them no. That's great. And as I'm building up my leverage and I'm, you know, building my team, what advice would you give me on how to find the best in class?
The first thing you need to do for each job is to have a spec sheets, you know, the specifications for that job.
So the level of greatness that you have to be to really be able to make a change and affect everything is you have to be greater than what they consider what's out there as great. So that means you have to work harder. And that's the reality. And that's the world that we're growing up in. And the only way we can change it is by embracing that.
How do you carry on this legacy?
I wanted to make sure like that this dream meant something at the end of the day, because, you know, this young man, you know, lost his life throughout this journey.
Jay-Z isn't just a hip-hop legend. He's also a magnet for controversies that seem to get bigger every year. You've got people like Dame Dash, Jaguar Wright, 50 Cent, and now Gene Deal, all stepping out to reveal some unsettling stories about the man they once respected. Rumors have always buzzed about Jay-Z's past alliances and the questionable ways he has maintained his power. But recently, fresh allegations have emerged that make those old rumors look tame by comparison. Some say his silent partnership with Diddy is catching up to him, while others believe he's just the scapegoat of a wild conspiracy. One thing is certain, this isn't the first time Jay-Z's name has appeared in a scandal, and it definitely won't be the last. If you've been wondering why people who used to be close to Jay are now speaking up, buckle in. The secrets, grudges, and buried tensions run deep. You might think you know Jay-Z's story, how he rose from Brooklyn's Marcy Projects to become a billionaire mogul. But there's more to his climb than rap albums and business deals. Longtime insiders claim there's a darker side, filled with manipulations, alliances of convenience, and hushed-up disputes that never saw the light of day. In this video, we're peeling back the curtain on everything that's been festering for decades, and the new legal bombshell that threatens to unravel Jay-Z's carefully constructed image. The early riffs and tensions long before anyone called him Hov, or considered him the reigning king of rap, Jay-Z was hustling his way onto the scene, forging alliances and feuds in equal measure. One of the first hints of tension was with none other than Sean Diddy Combs. Today, most people see them as 2 influential figures occasionally appearing together at lavish events. But according to whispers that have circulated for years, Diddy once harbored such a strong dislike for Jay-Z that he tried to get another rapper, J. Rule, involved in going at him. This is strange when you consider how Jay-Z was intertwined with the notorious B.I.G., who was Diddy's pride and joy at Bad Boy Records. The common thread should have united Diddy and Jay-Z. Instead, rumors suggest Diddy watched Jay-Z's meteoric rise with resentment. But while the rest of the world saw them as affiliate superstars in the same hip-hop orbit, apparently neither man trusted the other. This was only the tip of the iceberg. Behind closed doors, the friction was brewing, and it would take years for us to see how deep those grudges really went. And yet, for all the hostility that may have simmered during the 90s, it didn't stop both men from showing a united front for the cameras, until the cracks started to show once outside voices, such as Dame Dash and later Jaguar Wright, pointed out the hypocrisy. "Friends in public, enemies in private," was the phrase many fans whispered, never fully knowing which side was real. But that was only the beginning of the secrets simmering under the surface. Gene Deal enters the scenes. Soon as you hear Gene Deal's name, you know the stories aren't going to be mild. Gene isn't some random person on social media stirring the pot for clout. He was Diddy's head of security from the late 90s to the early 2000s. Right in the thick of Bad Boy's prime, he saw who came and went, what deals got made, and what dirty laundry needed to be hidden. In that era, if you wanted to know a star's deepest secrets, you spoke to their drivers, bodyguards, or assistants. And Gene Deal was at the forefront of that small circle. Gene openly admits he's never been a fan of Jay-Z. He recounts nearly knocking Jay-Z's teeth out during an argument in Cancun, all because Jay tried to pass him off to a female assistant instead of speaking man-to-man. The friction between them was immediate. According to Gene, Jay-Z's attitude dripped with disrespect. He was the kind of guy who believed his star power exempted him from everyday courtesies. In Gene's mind, that said plenty about Jay's character. Gene also witnessed more behind-the-scenes drama involving Jay-Z and Diddy. In one breath, he says Diddy hated Jay-Z enough to stir up rap conflicts against him. In the next, he recalls a bizarre moment in the early 2000s when he, Diddy, and actor Ashton Kutcher ran into Jay-Z at a Nets game, and suddenly, all that resentment disappeared. They were chatting and laughing like old pals, leading John to wonder if the entire feud had been orchestrated, or if the two men had buried the hatchet for more strategic reasons. Yet that near fight was mild compared to the bigger allegations John would soon uncover. The unlikely alliance. Despite the old grudges, Jay-Z and Diddy appeared to forge an alliance so tight that they started greeting each other by first names instead of monikers. One moment they were reportedly at odds, the next, they were joking in private about each other's skinny white girls, according to John. He claims both men rolled in the same circles, entertained similar preferences, and partied in venues that were out of bounds for the average person. This camaraderie went beyond mere acquaintances. It wasn't just about showing up at the same award shows or sharing stage time. Insiders whispered about the odd little gestures, like Diddy hopping on stage with Jay-Z and playfully patting him, something that left many fans doing a double take. Gene insists that beneath their public laughter, these two men are cut from the same cloth. They just have different styles. Diddy's more reckless and flamboyant, while Jay-Z keeps his private life guarded behind a polished business persona. For a while, they seemed unstoppable, two titans who had each other's backs. But that alliance turned awkward once Diddy started, facing a deluge of lawsuits and shocking accusations, from unscrupulous business dealings to far darker allegations about what went on behind closed doors. Jay-Z's name, once proudly linked to Diddy, suddenly vanished from statements, press releases, and interviews. Some said it was a classic case of self-preservation. If you see the ship sinking, you quietly move to safer ground. But while their friendship seemed unbreakable, Jay-Z would later try to distance himself when trouble began. Diddy's downfall and Jay-Z's retreat. If you haven't been following Sean Diddy Combs, it's been a rough period for the music mogul. Multiple lawsuits sprang up, each one more disturbing than the last. Suddenly, allegations were everywhere, ranging from manipulative contract deals to much deeper and more personal wrongdoing. High-profile exes and business partners came forward, each painting a picture of a man whose power might have gone unchecked for far too long. Strangely, while most people expected a public statement from Jay-Z in defense of his longtime friend, there was nothing but silence. It seemed like, overnight, Jay-Z stopped associating with Diddy. Some wonder if Jay truly had zero knowledge of Diddy's alleged exploits, or if he simply decided that preserving his own brand mattered more than personal loyalty. One moment they were billionaire best friends. The next, Jay-Z acted as if the partnership was purely professional and not particularly significant. Then came the bombshell, a lawsuit involving a 13-year-old girl who claimed she was harmed by Diddy. And, to everyone's astonishment, Jay-Z as well. The alleged incident dates back to September 2000, after the MTV Video Music Awards. This was a timeline when Jay-Z was at the height of his early fame, and Diddy was dominating the industry post-Biggie era. Few believed that anything could topple them. Yet here it was, a legal claim tying both men to something grotesque enough to ruin any career. Yet even trying to lie low couldn't shield Jay-Z from a new and terrifying claim. The 2000 VMA after-party lawsuit. The allegations erupted like a thunderclap. According to the lawsuit, a young girl, only 13 at the time, was somehow intoxicated and assaulted by Diddy and Jay-Z following the 2000 VMAs. Whether you believe the claims or not, it's the kind of story so shocking that it made headlines instantly. Diddy had been embroiled in numerous controversies over the years, but seeing Jay-Z's name attached to this was a bigger surprise. Jay-Z's team instantly struck back, calling it an attempted shakedown. They portrayed the accuser's lawyer, Tony Busby, as unscrupulous, alleging he was merely after a massive payout. Statements from Roc Nation hammered home that Jay-Z wouldn't be intimidated. But for many onlookers, the question remained, why would anyone include Jay-Z in a lawsuit that initially only named Diddy? Was it all a bluff, or did they have tangible evidence that could implode Jay-Z's empire? Staying quiet was no longer an option, so Jay-Z filed court motions to reveal the accuser's identity, presumably hoping to challenge her credibility. But the judge shot that down, allowing her to remain anonymous. For now, the public largely agreed with the decision, given the serious nature of the claims. If someone has faced intimidation in the past, revealing their identity might put them at risk. Jay-Z's strategy backfired in the court of public opinion. Instead of looking like a man defending himself, he appeared like someone trying to bully a potential victim. But the legal challenges only grew more complicated, especially when old insiders began poking holes in the story. Gene Deal's doubts and timeline inconsistencies. Right when the lawsuit hit a fever pitch, Gene Deal reappeared, this time not to condemn Jay-Z, but to cast doubt on the timeline of the alleged crime. According to John, something about the entire narrative felt off. First, the accuser claimed she was taken to an exclusive party by a limousine driver. John quickly refuted that, saying Diddy and his entourage never traveled by limousine in those days. They used SUVs almost exclusively. Then there's the curious detail of the young girl fleeing to a nearby gas station, supposedly to call her father. Gene insisted that would have required trekking nearly 40 blocks if they were at the venue indicated in the lawsuit. The distance alone seemed implausible for a terrified teenager at night, especially if she was in such a vulnerable state. He also argued that an unknown limo driver wouldn't have easily bypassed the party's security to get her inside, because Diddy's security team controlled access, and they didn't simply wave in random individuals. On top of that, Jay-Z's own legal motions uncovered other contradictions. The accuser originally mentioned interacting with musician Benji Madden that night, though it appears Madden was nowhere near New York at the time. He was touring in the Midwest. Her father apparently told NBC he had zero recollection of driving 5 hours from Rochester to pick up his daughter from some gas station. To make matters more puzzling, the daughter later admitted she may have made mistakes in identifying certain people and clarifying the timeline. Gene's intervention ignited a series of questions. If someone who has every reason to dislike Jay-Z is finding inconsistencies in the lawsuit, does that lend credence to Jay-Z's defense? Or is this one insider's personal recollection simply clashing with another's version of events? Either way, it further muddied the waters around the lawsuit, and it was enough for Jay-Z's legal team to build a motion to dismiss the entire case. But even if these inconsistencies raise questions, Jay-Z isn't off the hook just yet. Jay-Z's legal counterattack. With the lawsuit unfolding at a rapid pace, Jay-Z and his high-profile attorney, Alex Spiro, filed a motion to dismiss. The court granted him the right to submit that motion, laying out a timeline of legal maneuvers. Jay-Z had until early February to file the motion. The accuser had until late February to oppose it, and Jay-Z then had until mid-March to respond if needed. It was a procedural victory, but hardly a guarantee that the case would vanish. Dame Dash, another figure who once stood at Jay-Z's side before their bitter breakup, chimed in with his skepticism. He doesn't trust Alex Spiro at all, claiming the lawyer would say anything to protect Jay-Z's interests. Dame maintains that if Jay truly has nothing to hide, he should step up and speak directly to the public, instead of letting a lawyer handle the narrative. Dame's words carry weight for longtime hip-hop fans who remember how Rockefeller Records fell apart, possibly due, in part, to Jay-Z's calculating moves and willingness to throw partners under the bus. Even with the motion to dismiss, the accusations remain severe, and the stigma could linger regardless of the outcome. It's not just about legal battles, it's about how the public sees Jay-Z's brand. For years, he's cultivated an image of sophistication and business acumen, rarely letting scandal tarnish his reputation for too long. But in the age of the internet, memories are long and archived headlines rarely disappear. All eyes are on what happens next. But Jay-Z's troubles extend beyond just this lawsuit. Patterns of betrayal and lingering doubts. Jay-Z's critics point to a recurring theme. He finds allies useful only as long as it benefits him, and once they're no longer advantageous, or they become liabilities, he swiftly distances himself. Look at Dame Dash, who co-founded Rockefeller with Jay only to be shoved aside when Jay seized the brand's future direction. Look at Jaguar Wright, who once praised Jay's artistry, but later accused him of being complicit in questionable industry practices. Even 50 Cent has taken jabs, implying Jay pulls strings behind the scenes to maintain his foothold at the top. Now, with Diddy embroiled in multiple allegations, Jay-Z appears to be doing the same thing, quietly stepping back, letting the legal fire burn around Diddy, and pretending their friendship was never that deep. He seldom comments on their relationship, and you can sense an undercurrent of relief that the media's attention is pinned on Diddy's downfall more than Jay-Z's. Still, that relief only goes so far when your own name is on a lawsuit accusing you of something despicable. The question is whether all these allegations, from the old days of setting up feuds to betraying partners to the recent lawsuit, indicate a pattern. Some argue that Jay-Z is just a savvy businessman who knows how to survive in a cutthroat industry. Others insist that his pattern of ditching friends points to a deeper moral vacuum, one that eventually catches up to even the most successful moguls. If the revelations from John Deal, Dame Dash, and Jaguar Wright are any indication, we may not have heard the last wave of accusations yet. Will these new allegations cause Jay-Z's empire to crack, or will he escape unscathed again? Conclusion. From day one, Jay-Z has walked a precarious line between brilliance and controversy. He was the underdog who soared to the top of the charts, then became the mogul who broke into exclusive billionaire clubs. For years, allegations of shady dealings and hidden grudges have trailed behind him, but he's always managed to emerge relatively unscathed. Now, with a lawsuit that directly places him alongside Diddy in one of the darkest allegations possible, the stakes are higher than ever. John Deal's testimony about inconsistencies in the timeline might help Jay-Z's defense, but it doesn't erase the broader questions swirling around him. Why does he always seem to be right on the edge of someone else's scandal? Is it just bad luck, or is there a reason so many former friends and associates speak of betrayals once they step outside Jay-Z's inner circle? And even if this lawsuit fails, is another one waiting in the wings? In the end, the situation forces us to consider whether truth and justice can even survive in an industry dominated by money and power. For some, the lawsuit is a desperate attempt to grab headlines and settlement money. For others, it's the much-needed spotlight on a world where unscrupulous acts often go unpunished. One thing's for sure, Jay-Z's next moves will be scrutinized, more than ever, and no statement from Roc Nation's PR machine can fully quell the unease. Whether you see him as a misunderstood icon or a ruthless puppeteer, the questions raised by these allegations won't vanish overnight. So, is Jay-Z truly paying the price for a lifetime of cunning maneuvers, or is he yet another victim in a swirl of deceitful claims? The answer might lie in the months of court battles ahead, and in the testimonies of those who know him best. Until then, all we can do is watch and wait, wondering if the most powerful man in hip-hop can outrun his past one more time, or if those skeletons in the closet are finally rattling too loudly to ignore.